Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And for a few minutes, I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Marshall. Now, if you have not heard, Brandon Marshall was on ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, and he was talking about the NFC South. Now, as you all know, the NFC South is a hot topic due to the fact that you have two legendary quarterbacks in it. You have Tom Brady, six-time Super Bowl winning champion quarterback, future Hall of Famer, and you got Drew Brees, who's a certified Hall of Famer and owns every quarterback statistical record imaginable. So everybody seems to want to talk about the NFC South, and Brandon Marshall said that he feels that Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the division. Nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing's wrong with a guy giving his personal opinion about, something like sports, and who is going to win the division. But then Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman said, well, what about the Saints? And I'm talking Brandon Marshall, went on a tangent and was talking about how the Saints window is closed and how the team has been exposed and talked about the signing of Emmanuel Sanders. He is a guy who is about two hits away from being on a couch like him, and he's not what he was 5 years ago. And he then took some stabs at Sean Payton, talking about how Sean Payton is the reason why the New Orleans Saints can't get over the hump. I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of see where he's going with that. But it seems to me that Brandon Marshall is a little bit bitter. But I see a lot of people in the Who That Nation when I posted the video on Facebook. And if you have not seen it, you can go to facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. But I seen a lot of people in the Who That Nation that were going at this guy, talking about, he bipolar and stuff like that, and he ain't take his medication. Look, man, let's not go that route, okay? People that deal with bipolar disorder and depression and stuff like that, that's a real subject, man. So I don't want to disrespect that man like that and his journey and what he been through. And I don't want to disrespect people that deal with bipolar disorder and anxiety and depression. So I don't want to disrespect that. I feel like that was a little bit of a low blow. But for those that were saying that there's a little bit of some animosity because he was signed by the New Orleans Saints and he couldn't make the field. I think like a couple years ago, he couldn't make the field because you had Austin Carr and Keith Kirkwood that were playing much better in practice than he was. It seems like Brandon Marshall is just a tad bit upset because once he left the Seattle Seahawks, he probably thought because the Saints signed him that he was going to hit the field. But the Saints probably realized that he was a shell of his former self, and they decided that they wanted to go younger, which kind of panned out because Keith Kirkwood played really good. And we can't forget before he got hurt, I'm talking Kirkwood, he actually had a touchdown in the divisional round of the playoffs. I think Brandon Marshall looked at, he has never played in a playoff game. I'm going to say that again. Brandon Marshall, 10 plus years in the National Football League, has never played in a postseason. And he felt that the New Orleans Saints signing him, this was his big chance to perform in the postseason. Problem is, he stunk it up and he couldn't get on the field. And Keith Kirkwood played much better. If he's petty about that, then it's a shame, okay? It's a shame. But I'm going to go ahead and address the whole question, is the Saints window closing, okay? Is the Saints window closed? Is it over for the New Orleans Saints? Absolutely not. It is absolutely not over for the New Orleans Saints. As long as Drew Brees is still the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, and as long as Cam Jordan is the captain of the defense, you got Demario Davis at linebacker. You just brought back Malcolm Jenkins for leadership in the secondary. You signed Janoris Jenkins. You got Marshawn Lattimore. You still got, Marcus Williams. I mean, you still got guys on the offensive side of the ball. Michael Thomas. Now you got Emmanuel Sanders, Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray. The Saints are still the same team. And I just don't understand how people can look at this team, the team that was 13-3. This is not a 9-17. This ain't a team that backflipped into the playoffs. This ain't a team that just fell back into the playoffs. This was a team that could have easily been a 1 or a 2 seed, but the way that the NFL and the NFC was lined up last year, they had to end up being a wild card team. So for all these people out here, like these Falcons fans, like these Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, and even these Panthers fans, you need to understand that the Saints are still a class of the NFC South. We have not seen Tom Brady play in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. You can't just say, oh, just because Tom Brady is here, all of a sudden the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to take over the division. Not so fast. The New Orleans Saints are still in this division. And I'm about to say something that I think a lot of people in the division needs to hear. I think a lot of people need to understand. And I get it. I completely get it. You're tired of the New Orleans Saints. If you are a fan of the Falcons or the Panthers or the Buccaneers, you are tired of the Saints being so successful. You are tired of watching Drew Brees be the best quarterback in the division. So now you're so happy that Tom Brady has come to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now you feel like the Saints are going to just fall off of a cliff. Number one, to all you fans out there, I'm about to make something perfectly clear. The New Orleans Saints organization, fans, we are the class of this division. Nobody would even care about any of you if the New Orleans Saints wasn't in this division. The Saints have better fans than any of the teams in the division. They have more loyal fans than anybody in this division. They got better coaching than anybody in this division. And we can go ahead and say that if it wasn't for the New Orleans Saints, none of you probably would even be on television. Nobody will want to watch you. Nobody cares about you. It's the fact that the Saints have been dominant over these past few years that anybody even cares about your team, okay? There is true loyalty to the Saints organization by fans. First off, we have been through some bad times with this team, okay? Horrible times. When Falcon fans, Panthers fans, Buccaneer fans go through hard times, it is hard to find them. But you will always find somebody saying who that, no matter if the Saints are 13-3 or 3-13. So let's go ahead and clear that up right now. The Saints window is not closing. And as far as I'm concerned, the New Orleans Saints are still going to win this division. So regardless to what Brandon Marshall had to say, rather it's sour grapes, or he actually believed what he was saying. But I will say this, if he is saying what he believes, I mean, I just feel like it's just a little bit jaded. And it does sound a tad bit on the salty side. I'm going to be honest with that. But Brandon Marshall has given us hot takes like Jay Cutler is going to be MVP of the National Football League. He said that Jay Cutler is one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game. And we had great hot takes like that. I will say that. But to each his own. I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Brandon Marshall's comments on ESPN First Take? Once again, you can go to facebook.com, search The State of the Saints podcast if you didn't see him. But I would love to hear from you. You can comment down below, like and share this video. This has been a State of the Saints podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast. And once again, follow the State of the Saints podcast on Facebook, facebook.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast. I hope everybody is being safe out there. Be happy, be healthy, and stay home. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?